So who wouldn't want to fly like Superman, right? So I thought that was a good superhero to want to be like. I've always been a dreamer. How many of you have dreamed of doing something really great, huge, seemingly impossible, like pilot a jumbo jet or scale Mount McKinley or help discover the cure for cancer? For those out there who've said yes, are we to be considered foolish dreamers? Or are we actually people with high, maybe even noble aspirations? I know there are lots of dreamers out there, but why do so many people not turn their dreams into reality? Someone or something surely is to blame for this. Someone or something holds many of us back, but who is it? What is this entity? Why does this happen? Well, here's a question for you all. Who or what has the greatest influence over our own individual destiny? Is it our parents, our teachers, coaches, community leaders, our religious leaders, our employers? How about the government? You know what? We can blame them for just about everything. But you know what? I say no to all of it. Blame none of them for holding us back. The responsible party, my friends, is you, and it's me. It's the individual dreamer who has the greatest influence over his or her own destiny. So if that's true, if we are our greatest influence, how do we realize our dreams? How do we turn them into reality? Well, for certain, we have to accept the fact that we each have unique gifts, talents, and for sure limitations. Overall, we're basically mediocre people, most of us, right? But us mediocre folks can become wildly successful. That is, we can realize our dreams if we're focused and driven to do so. A very kind and wise old woman one time told me that when setting goals, I should reach for the stars, shoot for the sky. And I loved that advice. And it seemed to me, therefore, that if there was something one wanted, something I wanted, something I dreamt of doing or aspired to, that I should just go for it. So putting that whole thought process into action, I've learned over time that the formula for successfully realizing one's dreams includes the following. Number one, believe in yourself. Do not worry about what anyone else tells you or thinks about you. Number two, set very lofty goals. My friends, anybody can set the bar really low. Number three, work very, very hard to achieve those goals and sacrifice a whole lot along the way if necessary. Number four, be prepared for significant struggles, failures, and a repeated desire to quit. Anticipate that this will happen. And number five, be persistent at all costs. Keep pushing on despite the odds. Now, when I was in high school, I was a decent student, nothing stellar, certainly no straight A's, but good enough grades. I played some sports, I was in music, I had a part-time job at a local hospital, and I did not have the best study habits. I did not graduate with honors, but luckily my GPA and my ACT scores somehow got me probably that last slot at a Midwestern university my parents wanted me to attend. I was 18 years old, and my dreams at that time were to be a doctor. Remember, I worked in a hospital. It seemed like a good job. I also paradoxically wanted to be on a Navy SEAL team, as crazy as that sounds. I read about these guys in books. It just seemed like a cool thing to do. And I wanted to travel all over and see the world. So when I told people about this, they laughed at me. They were very discouraging. They even mocked me at times. I went off to college at the university, and where I'd been a good high school student, well, I was average, mediocre at best. I struggled a lot at the university. As a matter of fact, I struggled so much I was told I would never be a doctor. He said, quit pre-med, give up the dream. I was told this by my parents, my peers, and I was told this by the university pre-med advisor. So here I was, 18, almost 19 years old. Everyone's telling me to quit. I'm a failure. And I did quit. I quit pre-med. I went into the College of Business, but it just didn't seem right. That summer I worked my job again in the emergency room. And that fire was rekindled, and I still dreamt of being a doctor. I wanted to try again, but no one supported me. Matter of fact, people laughed at me. But I decided, you know what, I didn't care. I was going to take the bull by the horns and figure this out for myself. I decided I'd repeat 2 classes, take a ridiculously heavy load, study every night, all night if I needed to do so, and I would somehow graduate. in 4 years with a pre-med degree, and I'd even get into medical school somehow. I did sacrifice a lot. I missed out on a lot. But I did realize that dream, and I was accepted into medical school, the Chicago College of Osteopathic Medicine, south side of Chicago. A bonus is I even got the whole thing paid for by the U.S. Navy. I got a health profession scholarship program. But I still received very little support. My dad said, "You don't want to join the Navy." My mom said, "Are you crazy? Only crazies join the military." My family wasn't even supportive of where I was going to medical school. They said, "You know, that's not a very prestigious place to go." They said I was wasting my time. Well, flash forward 4 years. You know, I'd worked my tail off. I worked really hard, and I did graduate. I graduated, in fact, at the top of my class. And my dream of being a doctor was, in fact, realized. But now here I am, a fledgling young physician, but I had even bigger dreams. I wanted to be not just a doctor, I wanted to be a surgeon. But then I thought to myself, you know, surgeons typically come from more prestigious medical programs, and I didn't know if I had what it took to get into a surgical program. Well, following medical school, I entered the active duty Navy. Remember, I was on a Navy scholarship. And I became an intern at the U.S. Naval Hospital in Portsmouth, Virginia, where I was an intern. I was a slave. I worked 120 plus hours a week. It was absolutely grueling. There was extensive sleep deprivation, and frankly, it was some weird form of acceptable torture. But it was necessary. I needed to show and prove to the real surgeons that I was capable of and worthy of post-internship surgical training. Now, I was just one of 70 interns. And most of my colleagues, like 67 as a matter of fact, had gone to prestigious medical schools like Georgetown, Yale, Duke, University of Chicago, etc. And I'd clearly gone to an average medical school. Now, halfway through our intern year, the graduate medical education director would meet with each of us individually, tell us how we were doing, give us our performance evaluation, and then we would receive the letter. And the letter was a document that would basically determine if following 2 years of working as a general practice physician in the military, we'd be invited back for our subspecialty training, in my case, as a surgeon. Well, I wasn't too hopeful of getting a great letter, but to my absolute joy, I got a great review. He said, "Jim, you're a good surgeon. You've got good technique. You're smart, etc. We definitely want you back in 2 years." And I said, "I'm so grateful. Thank you. Despite the fact that I didn't go to one of your prestigious medical schools, you're going to invite me back." And he gave me a weird look, and he kind of got serious. He flipped to my papers, and he told me to shut the door. He said, "If you repeat any of this, I'll deny it." He goes, "You know, we only take certain people here." He goes, "You'll never become a surgeon here." He goes, it's not my rules, it's everybody else's rules." He says, "I'll write you a favorable letter for what it's worth, but my advice to you, go work as a GP doc in some clinic somewhere, and then just get out of the Navy. This place isn't for you." Well, I was blown away. I was angry. I was dejected, horribly saddened. How could this be? Just minutes before, he told me he's going to invite me back. No question about it. And all of a sudden, just because I went to the wrong school, I'm rejected? Well, I wanted to quit, but I couldn't. I'm in the military. They own me. So I decided, you know what? I'm going to rub it in their face, and I'm going to prove the Navy wrong. And if the Navy won't let me become a surgeon, I'm going to realize that other dream. I'm going to be on that Navy SEAL team. However, that was seemingly impossible. I talked to my detailer. He's the guy that finds you a job in between orders. And I said, "Hey, detailer, find me a GMO job, General Medical Officer job." I said, "I want to be on a SEAL team." And he goes, "You're crazy. You're not going to be on a SEAL team. We don't take doctors and put them on SEAL teams. It's not going to happen." So after we beat that horse to death, I asked for something else. I said, "Put me on the next toughest group possible. How about Reconnaissance Marine Corps?" He laughed at me again. He goes, "You can't hang with the Recon Marines." So month after month, I called, I harassed the guy. Finally, he said, "Okay, fine. I'm going to assign you to 1st Surveillance Reconnaissance Intelligence Group, Camp Pendleton." He goes, "But mark my words, Cole, you're going to regret this." So for the next 2 years, I engaged in pretty rigorous physical training with the Reconnaissance Marines, running in the sand, swimming in the ocean, hiking for up to 50 miles with a full pack in the desert, all while providing health care to those Marines. It was really, really rough, but I kind of liked it. They sent me to parachute infantry training at Fort Benning, where half the class quit. but I became a paratrooper. They sent me to Navy combat diver training in Florida where they tried to drown me. I swear to God they tried to kill me. They absolutely tried to get me to quit, but I became a Navy diver. I qualified as expert on the rifle, the pistol, and I served twice in the jungles of Central America with those Marines. And after 2 years, I could have left active duty with my head held high. I'd done a lot, but I still wanted more. I still dreamed of being a surgeon. I still thought about those SEAL teams that I was denied. But then I said, do I really want to subject myself again to 120-hour work weeks, this time for 4 more years? All that sleep deprivation, the torture, the slavery, just to be a surgeon? And I said, yeah, I do. So I applied to all the Navy surgeon training programs, knowing my chances were slim to none. But by the grace of God, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force graduate medical education directors all met together that year. Now, the Navy did reject me, as expected, but the Army needed one more qualified candidate. And somehow, based on my medical school grades and my board scores alone, the Army picked me, and I got orders to William Beaumont Army Medical Center in El Paso, Texas, where Colonel Stephen Hetz would train me to become a surgeon. Colonel Hetz was a great man, a talented surgeon, a great teacher, and a wise mentor. But he also had this mystique about him. You see, Dr. Hetz was a former member of Joint Special Operations Command, otherwise known as JSOC. JSOC is a counterterrorism organization that supported teams like SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force. And as a surgeon, Dr. Hetz went out with the JSOC teams and provided far-forward medical and surgical support of a highly classified nature. Now, during my residency, I was always under a microscope. I was scrutinized for everything I did by other residents, staff, attending surgeons, and Dr. Hetz. Watched everything we did. And we also talked about what our dreams were following our surgical training. Some people wanted to do plastic surgery or heart surgery. They asked me, and I said, you know what I want to do is I want to be a trauma surgeon, take care of trauma patients, and frankly, I think it'd be really cool to be on JSOC. Well, they said, shut up. They said, don't talk about stuff like that. People don't ask to be on JSOC. You get invited if they want you. And oh, by the way, no Navy surgeon has ever been invited to that unit. Well, I still hoped and I still dreamed. I thought, hey, if I have any chance, I better get in really good shape. So I did a lot of push-ups, a lot of sit-ups. I ran all the time. And this is despite these ridiculous work hours. Sometimes I'd get home at 12:30 in the morning. I'm bleary-eyed, but I'd go running 2 miles just for this possibility. Well, people saw what I was doing, and they'd say, Cole, you are crazy. You're not going to be recruited to Joint Special Operations Command. Give up the dream. Now, 4 years after leaving those reconnaissance Marines and engaging in that 4-year training program to be a surgeon, I did become a full-fledged surgeon, and that dream was realized. And that impossible follow-on dream, that dream of joining Joint Special Operations Command, well, someone did notice me. Maybe it was Dr. Hetz, I don't know. And I did get invited to, and then selected as the first Navy surgeon ever to join those teams. And for 2 years, I trained with, worked with, and deployed with some of the world's most elite special operations commandos. It was amazing and absolutely surreal. In late September of 2000, I decided I'd served on active duty long enough. I decided to get out and become a civilian surgeon. But the terror attacks of 9/11 occurred less than 1 year later, and I was absolutely compelled to rejoin. This time as a Navy reservist, and because of my Marine reconnaissance experience and my JSOC background, I was finally assigned directly to my first Navy SEAL team. I became a member of Navy Reserve SEAL Team 8. In 2004, I was mobilized onto active duty to Naval Special Warfare Development Group and sent to Afghanistan, where I became a member of SEAL Team 6. And I served as a medical provider on the most amazing and storied special operations team in America. In 2007, I was again mobilized, this time to the Marine Corps, where they made me the officer in charge of a mobile surgical team that I led through Al-Anbar province, living outside the wire for months at a time. We'd live in these small 7 by 3 foot tents, and we'd provide medical and surgical support to the Marines as they engaged in combat. Now, following and in between those deployments, I led expeditionary surgical teams to North Africa, the Black Sea region, and above the Arctic Circle. And once back home, I worked as a trauma surgeon at this level 1 trauma center, treating victims of everything, okay? Messy blood and guts work, true life and death work. In the summer of 2013, I received a phone call from an admiral. Hey, Jim, I got one more important job for you to do. I need you to go back to the combat zone and be in charge of all medical matters as the Marines withdraw from Afghanistan. So what do you do when an admiral calls you? You say, yes, sir. So I received orders. The Navy mobilized me again to the Marine Corps, where they gave me the title Force Surgeon. And ironically, that same organization that told me to quit 23 years before had just made me the highest ranking and most senior medical officer of the entire deployed U.S. Marine Corps and all coalition forces in southwest Afghanistan. I was gone for a long year. That was a long, long year. And in November of 2014, I was on that last wave of the last of the Marines to pull out of Afghanistan. Now, looking back on everything I dreamt of and wished for in my life, it was belief in myself. It was setting those very lofty goals, working very, very hard, and sacrificing all that I needed to achieve those goals, dealing with all of those struggles and failures along the way, and being persistent that allowed me to realize so many of my dreams and accomplish my goals. And it's therefore my hope that for all of you and for anyone out there who dreams, that you dream big, believe in yourself, set lofty goals, work hard at attaining them, expect adversity because it will come, but remain persistent until you succeed. And my friends, this world needs more dreamers. So my challenge to you is to dream big and realize your dreams. Thank you very much.